I was here and I had, I think $1,200 to my name, and I wanted to go buy some jewelry. And I went to a few stores here. There's only a couple places you can kind of go to get kind of the men's hip hop style jewelry, right?
Yeah.
And I went there, and what they were charging was like way more than you could get it back in Ontario where I grew up, right? So me being a cheap ass was like, absolutely not. So I went to a pawn shop on Sargent. It's called AMC Pawn. It's like right in the hood. I didn't know it was the hood. I just walked there, right? And I went and I bought a couple of rope chains, impulse buy like a donkey. And then 2 weeks later, I was broke and I had to pay rent. I'm like, well, I have these chains, right? So I put them on Kijiji because there was no marketplace at the time. And I sold them. I can't remember exactly if it was like a few hours or maybe the next day, but I sold it like very quickly and I made a couple $100.
Okay.
But the kicker was the guy who I sold them to, he was like, if you can get jewelry cheaper than these other places, me and all my friends will buy from you. Because I kind of played it off like, I sell things here and there. I didn't let him know that like, I need money for rent, right? But that kind of like made the light bulb go off in my head. Like maybe there's something here, It wasn't, oh, I'm going to be a jeweler and I can make a jewelry business out of this. It was just that like, maybe I'll go back to the pawn shop and get some more chains.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
What was it like when you walked into that pawn shop and you saw, and then the person bought after?
After?
Yeah. Like how long from that point to where you're like, oh, I'm going to do this?
Well, I went back to the pawn shop almost immediately.
Really?
After I paid the rent and, I started working. My uncle, he owns a East Indian restaurant here. So I worked there for a little bit, washing dishes. And, just saved up a little bit of my money, and I would go back to the pawn shop. That place didn't have too much at the time, right? But I'd kind of... See, the jewelry business is the barrier for entry, or at least I thought at the time, was like, it's very difficult, right?
Okay.
The probability of me becoming a jeweler with $1,000 to my name, no contacts in the industry, no family in the business, right? Is slim to none.
Hard to, yeah.
So after I had that first success with that initial pawn shop, I kind of started just going everywhere. I would take the bus to all these different pawn shops, and there was a few gold buyers, and there was this guy in McPhillips who owned like a coin and stamp store, and he had like pre-owned jewelry there. And I would just go there and essentially give them a proposition like, hey, if I can come in here every week and buy X amount, can you give me like a little bit of a discount, right? And most places said like, yeah, there's the door, buddy. Like, you know, I wasn't dealing with substantial capital. We're talking a few $1,000s this time, right?
Okay.
But there was a few people who did, who were on board with that. And that's kind of how I got my inventory at first.